I want to start at the beginning with Jonako because I know you've obviously worked with writer, director, producer Sarah Adina Smith before, and this film is actually based on a novel called is it Bright Shining Stars?
Yeah, Bright Burning Stars.
Bright Burning Stars. How did you first become familiar with this story, and what made you see it, as a film?
Just because you were number one once does not mean you will be again.
I will be number one. Who are you?
I'm Kate. I'm here to win the prize.
Why should I trust you?
1, 2, 3.
From this day forward until the can't even remember my name.
This is our sacred oath.
You know my thing on my own shadow.
To win the prize together.
You know my
Or not at all.
Do you agree?
It's a book that actually our two other producers, Dara Gordon and Trevor Adley, brought to Sarah. Dara is Kristine's manager, and Kristine and Sarah had worked on Looking for Alaska together, and so they were looking for a director to attach to that adaptation. And Sarah read the book, loved it. She gave it to me. I loved it. It's just a really fun, juicy, pulpy read, and our previous films have been sort of very art house, and we were looking for something that was a bit broader and sort of appealed to a wider audience. And this was a project that felt like, it still had like a lot of meat and depth to it, but would appeal to a lot more people. And Sarah could still sort of, in terms of story and visuals, kind of put her mark on it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And Kristine, for you, aside from the added bonus of working, everyone's so generous, I love it. Aside from the added bonus of working with Sarah again, what interested you in this project and specifically this role?
Yeah, with Maureen, I don't know if this works. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I was just really curious to go on the journey with Maureen of, where we first meet her when she suffered this loss and this tragedy, and just kind of go on her journey through coping with that and then kind of ending at it where she begins her journey of healing. And I think that was a really beautiful message and something that I wanted to explore at the time. So that was one of the main things. And then I also didn't know anything about ballet, but I respected ballet so much, and I really just wanted to do something to tap into that world. And so that was...
Oh my
really
God.
fun.
I mean, you fooled me. Did they put you through like a crash course?
Thank you. It kind of felt like it. We had 3 months, only 3 months beforehand, of just like an intense schedule, morning to night, where we just did all these things that I didn't even know existed, like gyrotonics. I didn't know that was a thing. And so that was incredible. I felt, it was an amazing opportunity that I never would have done otherwise. So.
Do you still remember everything, or is it all gone?
I mean, my posture right now
Yes.
is like this, so I mean, I'm trying to keep it, but I was so out of touch with my body, and I am a lot more in tune with everything, and I understand my alignment's off, but I do need to remember that posture. That's yeah.
Ellen, what about for you? What interested you in being a part of this film?
Thank you. Well, I love working with Sarah and Jonako, and I was really excited to be part of this film. I read the script, and I started to hear music as soon as I was reading it, which was, a really clear sign that I felt so inspired. The depth that Sarah evokes through her writing just begs for music. And, sometimes I sit down and I try to write, and it's like kind of murky, and you have to sit with it. But for this film, I just sat down. It was like, here are the characters and here's what they want, and it was so satisfying to be able to go into that world with this whole team.
It's so interesting. People talk to directors and actors about influences, but for composers going into a project, do you watch other things that are similar, or do you have like your own personal influences you bring to something?
A mix. Sometimes it's hard because music has its own vocabulary that isn't shared outside of the specialty. So, someone trying to give you notes will use a word that it could mean anything. It's like, can this be more happy? And it's like, okay, well, what does happy sound like to you? But the nice thing is that Sarah and I have worked together for such a long time that she can describe what she thinks the moment's missing, and I usually kind of get what she's going for.
I've been on the other side of those conversations where I don't speak the musical language, so trying to explain to every composer I've ever worked with, I just suddenly feel so bad.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. It's a really fun challenge, so lean into it.
So obviously this movie doesn't work without the perfect cast, and you have these two amazing actors at the center. I'm wondering if you can talk about the casting of Diana opposite Kristine, and oh, here, you can use this one. Take them all.
Well, when we signed on to the project, both Kristine and Diana were involved in the project, so they came on, earlier than Sarah and I did, even. And Diana was like a semi-pro tennis player, I think, back in the day. So she had that kind of competitive spirit that really aligned with Kate's character. So she was so perfect for the role. Yeah, and of course Kristine is amazing too. We got lucky.
This may sound like a strange question, Kristine, but so much of the movie hinges on the chemistry of these two characters together. Did you and Diana have any sort of a chemistry read during the process, or did you meet at the first read?
No, we Sarah's really awesome with how she loves to get everyone together. She's always been really great at that. So we met before we started our training and just had dinner and connected right away. I mean, it was really wonderful. But I knew of Diana. I was a fan of Diana, so yeah.
I was a big Ma fan, so
yeah, Booksmart too.
That's right, of course, Booksmart.
Yeah, she's awesome. So it felt really great and a lot of support.
What about rounding out the rest of this cast? I mean, you have Jacqueline Bisset, who I just love every time she's on screen, which isn't often enough in my opinion. Can you kind of talk about how you put this cast together?
Yeah. I mean, one of the challenges with sort of filling out this cast was that we were looking for people who were dancers, actors, could speak English and French. So to sort of fill out that ballet school was a very unique challenge in and of itself. We learned that with these professional ballet dancers, they get booked on shows months in advance. So we were ready to shoot, and everyone was booked out. And so we got so lucky finding all of these special people. And Jacqueline Bisset is amazing, and she English, French, and also has a dance background. And so she was another checked all of our boxes. And so she was the perfect fit.
I know her character's job is to intimidate all of you, but was it truly intimidating to be sharing scenes with Jacqueline Bisset?
Yes, but she's a force of nature. She steps into the room and you're like, whoa, there she is. And she kind of was in character the entire time, so we didn't really think that she liked us until the end, where she came up to us and talked to us. We're like, oh my gosh. And she was so lovely then.
So obviously this film is set in a very specific world of ballet and has the language of that world. How much did you know about that world prior to making this film, and what sort of research did you guys have to put in? And Ellen, for you as well, because you're capturing the sound of this world.
I mean, I don't have a dance background. Sarah doesn't have a dance background either. But we really relied on Celia, who's our choreographer, and also Cara McGee, who is someone that Sarah and I went to college with and trained Kristine and Diana. And so relying on them to sort of help get the script right. And I know Sarah did a lot of research watching, various dance films and whatnot. So, yeah.
I did some dance growing up, and you can't tell. I'm so bad. My body I can't do fifth position. It's I'm not built for it. But I know the feeling of being in a school with the piano music that's going all the time. So it's really fun to kind of go back to that really angular and emotionless music that's kind of underneath so much of the dance school. It was really, really fun to kind of dive back into that. But Celia was super helpful, sculpting the music that went under the classes to make sure it was appropriate. And, Sarah's very musical, and so we all pulled a lot of references of, classical piano music to really inspire the music of the score.
I was curious if you worked with the choreographer, because she's choreographing to your music, isn't she?
Yeah, we worked together. We did. I mean, so there was a lot of give and take where I wrote some things before the film was shot, and then after it was shot, I rewrote them completely. So, there was a lot of kind of dialogue as that developed.
Kristine, I'm curious because I'm in awe of actors because I'm really bad at it. So I respect people who are good at it. And this is a really intense role. In addition to everything that she's dealing with, there's so many layers going on here. She's competing for this big prize. Are you the kind of actor who sort of takes your work home with you? Or are you allowed to sort of leave her behind at the end of the day?
It varies every time. With this, it was because it was such a physical thing. It really stayed with me the entire time. Also, in the way I was fueling myself, it just changed the way my brain was operating. So I kind of just was in it. And then it was tricky. We had 6 days left, and then COVID shut us down. And so then we had that time in between where I was like, we were really lucky to go back, but we didn't know. And then it was just trying to navigate that space too of how much to hold on to. That and then re-enter that world. So I don't know. She kind of stayed with me the entire time.
There's actually some qualities she has that I think would be nice to sort of take home. She's very motivated. She's very talented. Yeah.
This is true.
If you can just leave the angst behind for a couple weeks.
Then we're good.
I didn't realize you were shut down by COVID, and I know this is an independent production. How many shooting days did you have, and was that concerning?
Yeah, I think we started out with 30 shoot days, and we got through 23, 24 of them, and then got shut down by COVID. And we were like, oh, we're so close to finishing this movie. We were like a week away, basically. And then we were off for about 5-6 months, maybe. And we had saved sort of this huge dance sequence for the end of our shoot, which, post-COVID, we couldn't do anymore, and so the end had to be rewritten and reworked. And so the ending that is in there now wasn't the original ending, and that's sort of like our, COVID ending, I guess. Yeah, but it was, yeah, it's great. Yeah, I think like Sarah did such a great job of like just going back to character and sort of resolving the relationship between Kate and Em. So.
When you said you got shut down, you were saying 4 or 5, and I was like, days? And then you said months. I was like, oh, I mean, how did you have to prepare to go back? Because you'd probably moved on emotionally and physically to some degree.
No, yeah. I mean, we didn't know if we were going to be able to go back. And I think we just found out like 3 weeks before we were going to go back. So Diana and I just like did Ballet Beautiful every day on YouTube for that amount of time. And we're like, we got this. And then, we look a little tanner, maybe more tan because it was summertime. But I'm glad you didn't notice. That's good.
Not at all. I mean, sometimes they say, necessity is the mother of all invention. And sometimes things just work out.
Yeah.
I'm sure as a producer, you're forced to believe that.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to look on the right side of things.
So, taking COVID out of the equation, for each of you, what ended up being the most challenging scene or moment? Or, it can be, the music that you tried to match a scene to. It can be your most emotional scene, whatever it was for each of you.
Oh my God.
I know everyone's looking to you. Like you must have an answer.
I'll go first. I
Keep
think
going.
from like a production logistical standpoint, like filling out that dance school was really challenging. We were initially working with the Hungarian National Ballet, and we're planning on casting out of that, but because of their like schedule with shows and stuff, we couldn't pull as many people from there. So we had to like search all of Europe for like potential ballet dancers, so that and we were like, the clock is ticking in terms of like when we're gonna go shoot. So for me, that was a big challenge.
COVID was obviously a huge challenge. I mean, we're musicians, we vibe off each other's energy. We had to figure out how to create the score separate and remotely. The biggest scene that was a challenge is the scene where Kate goes to Felipe's dorm room. And we were having a lot of responses that people didn't understand that she was into that moment. And So we were trying to use music as a way to feel like she was owning it, and that was really hard to find that balance of it like supporting her but not overtaking her and being positive, but like it's also like a very dark moment too, so kind of straddling that line was a big challenge.
Well, it worked because I could tell.
Okay, good. You're like, she's into it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good.
I think honestly COVID for sure, and having to go back to it and then having to re-enter that world in such a short amount of time and not really knowing. I definitely think that was one of the biggest ones. And just the physicality of it all, but also the mental challenges that come with it. I don't know how these dancers stay sane, and yeah.
Would you sometimes do these really emotional scenes where characters are being terrible to each other, and when they call cut, would you apologize to your scene partner, or did you have a way of like decompressing?
No, I mean, Diana is so great. We did so much. We had so much conversation beforehand, so we felt really safe with each other, and we could go there. And then right when we called cut, we would laugh about it, like the scenes when we're fighting and stuff. That was. We totally just laughed right after the fact. So it's all good vibes.
We have a lot of filmmakers, I believe, here tonight, and a lot of people in all aspects of the industry. This is a movie produced and scored and starring and also directed by a woman, which is wonderful to see. There's obviously been a lot of talk in recent years about improving things behind the camera. I'm curious, do you feel like things are improving? Have you seen improvements from your side? And what more can we do to further those improvements?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely like the climate has changed, and even just people being aware of the issue sort of changes the tenor of the conversation. But I mean, obviously there's more room for improvement. I think there's sort of specifically been a bit more of a focus on like female directors, which is amazing. But I think to sort of carry that throughout the rest of, heads of departments and throughout crews and whatnot, there's certainly work to be done there.
Ellen, for you, are you seeing more female composers?
I think that there's an interest, which is really exciting. When I was younger, I met with a friend's uncle who was a film composer, and he told me that there were no women in film composition, and that was the end of the conversation. It wasn't like, so then let's change that, and now I think that there's room, there's curiosity, and representation matters, and slowly the needle's moving.
I feel like it's can be sometimes rare to find a film that has a really great, strong, complex female lead, and this movie has two of them. What was it like to read a script like that? Is it unusual?
Yeah, I mean, I've acted now for 5 years, and I remember when I first started, I was only getting scripts that were, I was playing, the character descriptions would be like, she's the pretty girl next door, and she's sexy but not, and she's smart but she doesn't know it, and it's just like, and surrounding the guy and being how are you, babe, and how can I help you, and that's that's great, but I've noticed such a change in how we're able to tell our own stories, and it's amazing to be a part of something like this where we're exploring also female friendship, and females are so often put up against each other, and to really create conversation around that too, I think is incredible. So I'm here for it. And Diana I couldn't have asked for a better partner to do that with.
I know, I kind of want to see a sequel. I mean,
Let's go.
Well, again, I want to thank you all so much for being here. Congratulations on a beautiful film. Thank you all for being such a great audience.
Yeah, thank you.